I'm so excited to announce our first podcast episode of Scrubs to Startups. We had an amazing guest as our first guest, Michelle Dellene. She's a neurosurgery PA in Florida. She's the president of ASPA, the American Academy of Surgical PAs. It was an awesome interview. I'm so excited for everyone to listen. Please give us some feedback and let us know if you like the episode or not. Share it with your friends. Definitely subscribe. I look forward to everyone listening. Hi. My guest today is still in Scrubs. She's a practicing neurosurgery PA, one of the most demanding clinical roles there is. She also built a coaching and wellness business alongside of it, rooted in a personal health journey that tested everything she believed about medicine. Her story isn't about leaving the OR. It's about what she built while still in it. Michelle Dellene, welcome to Scrubs to Startups.
Thanks for having me, Danny. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so glad you can join us. So I always like to start our podcast with the full spectrum. I want to know everything about you. So start at the beginning. Tell me how you got into medicine, how you got into becoming a PA, and what your kind of career path was.
I'm happy to share. So, I came from a background where my mom practiced insurance and my dad was an independent contractor, and no one had ever practiced medicine. I was unique in that I fell in love with neuroscience as a sophomore in high school. And I told everyone I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. And they looked at me and rolled their eyes and they're like, well, how are you going to do that? I was like, watch me. So I applied to go to the University of Florida and got in. I studied microbiology and cell science there. And I was actually a part of Alpha Epsilon Delta, and that's when I met my first ever PA. She was bright and bubbly, and she danced across the stage. And it was in that moment where I decided that I wanted to be not a neurosurgeon, but a neurosurgery PA. So I applied and I got into Nova Southeastern University and graduated in 2016. And I landed my first job in trauma neurosurgery. That was in Ocala. And it was wild, Danny. PA school can never truly prepare you for living at the hospital and doing brain surgery all day and night. And when we're young like that, it's easy to do that. But as I continued to work in medicine, I got burnt out. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about how I healed burnout later.
I hear that from so many providers when they get into healthcare, transitioning from the school part to the working part. It's always, a big culture shock. You obviously do a lot as a student, and then it becomes real life, real responsibility, real patience. So it definitely has a lot more gravity to it. So you knew immediately in undergrad that you wanted to do neurosurgery. So you were destined for neurosurgery, or at
Yeah,
least
even
either by,
before that. In high
wow.
school, my sophomore year. And can you imagine this, Danny? I was so shy. I had severe social anxiety. And whenever I got up to present, my face would get red. I felt like I had like a frog in my throat. And my teacher assigned everyone a different section of the book to present. And I was assigned neurology and neuroscience. And I fell in love. And when I stood up in front of the class, something in me like came to life. And I was a lot less shy and I became much more animated. And I feel like that's when I really discovered this was my purpose.
I love that. And it's awesome that you felt that so early on. I know people can go whole careers without feeling purpose. So the fact that you got that right off the jump, I think that's got to give you some confirmation like, hey, I made the right decision early on and that I'm in the right spot for me and my personality. And obviously, I've met you now a couple times in real life, not through a computer screen. Shy is not how I would describe you.
I'm not shy anymore. And that's a testament to all the healing that I've done.
I love that. And I can't wait to hear more about it because I think that's what everybody that'll be listening to this wants to hear also. So I know you've been in neurosurgery for your whole career and have had a couple different roles as a physician assistant. Walk me through what a typical normal week you can kind of average the commonalities in each gig that you've had.
So I have practice in other subspecialties as well. I started in trauma neurosurgery, and that was wild. Like I said, kind of lived, breathed, eat, slept at the hospital. Sleep was very little. And took call. There were 3 neurosurgeons and 3 PAs, and one was a senior. So it was pretty much just splitting all of the work between 2 neurosurgeons and 2 PAs. And what that looks like is getting up early, usually around 4 a.m., going to the hospital, checking on all the patients, printing a list, and making sure that all the rounds are done so that when the surgeon gets there, you can point them in the right direction and really highlight what they need to pay attention to. Remember, like a PA is all about making the surgeon's job as easy and as fluid as possible. So you're doing most of the work, which I love. And so after hospital rounds, if it was a clinic day, we would go to clinic and take care of our patients there. And most people, when they think of a physician assistant, they can get confused. They can be like, well, what do you do? Are you just like assisting? We practice medicine autonomously. So in clinic, I'm pulling up the MRIs, I'm teaching the patient about what I see, what is abnormal, and I remind them that I treat them, not the picture. So ultimately, it's how they clinically present, and I educate them. Like, okay, here's your presentation, here's your prognosis if you do these things. And we talk about pharmacotherapy, physical therapy, injection therapy, and surgical intervention as a last resort. And then on busy OR days, we're still rounding early, but there's a bit more on my plate. That means I'm printing prescriptions, I'm making sure that they have everything they need for post-op recovery. And I coordinate a lot behind the scenes with the OR team, with the office manager, with my staff, making sure that their entire perioperative experience is seamless. And so they don't have to worry about what's next.
That was a great explanation of what a typical day in a neurosurgery PA's life looks like. I do think the PA profession is one of those that people make assumptions of what the job is, or maybe you've interacted with somebody you thought was a PA, or you know that they're in surgery with you. But what I found in my years in healthcare, and obviously being friends with a lot of PAs, is that beyond extending what the surgeon is doing, they're truly autonomous in how they practice medicine and how they interact with patients. And often they're the provider that gets to spend the most amount of time with you in the office, post-operatively, pre-operatively, hold your hand when you're going to sleep, and everything in between that. And I think as a piece of medicine, I think it's one of the most impactful professions you can have. And the amount of schooling and the amount of work it takes to get there, you're a super strong member of the surgery team, the clinical team, and I think PA's place in the operating room and the clinic will only continue to rise. And I think what I'm finding as I'm doing this podcast and in business is that the PAs that I speak with take a lot of that interpersonal skill, that clinical skill, and start to morph it into thinking about, hey, can I use my education, my degree, my license for more than just what my training is for, or working at a hospital for a practice. I just had lunch today with a PA, ironically, and he's like, I want to do more. I'm like, okay, well, we can talk. At what point in your PA career did you think that you wanted to do more than just clinical medicine or surgery?
Well, I would say back in 2020, we finally had the opportunity as PAs. We went from like working all day and night to the COVID pandemic, and all of a sudden, all elective surgeries were put on hold. And for me, at least, I found myself with free time that was never available. And I was like, wow, now I can literally do anything. What do I want to do? And I actually got an invite from the American Association of Surgery PAs to attend their first ever virtual conference. And how funny, right?
It
And like,
is
this
full
is so
circle.
serendipitous. And I was like, oh, sign me up for that. And Danny, I was so surprised. The quality of CME at ACEBA conferences is incredibly high in comparison to most other PA conferences I've ever been to. And not only was I like learning and gaining CME credit and connecting with the surgery community, but I was like doing laundry and organizing my house and like doing it all virtually. And I was like, I feel so productive right now. And I was like the one in there just like blowing up the chat. Hey, I'm Michelle from Florida. And the board of directors was intrigued. They're like, who is this woman on the other side? And they invited me to present a webinar. And then from there, I fell in love with ASPA, and it felt really like a home away from home. And I just kept volunteering, and somehow I ended up as president.
Miraculously, right? So
Yeah.
how tell me a little bit about that process to become president of ASPA. Do you start on the executive board? Give me the process.
Yeah. So I was elected as the professional development director. You must serve on the board of directors before you become president. So I never had like the idea of becoming president. It was something that was kind of like bestowed upon me, and I was like so honored to even be thought of. And I think what has really created my success in my presidency is I love everything that I do for ASPA. I love teaching surgical CME. I love presenting in real life. I love creating these cadaver labs. I love supporting PAs across the nation and helping out pre-PAs and students. I think because it comes from that genuine passion for helping the surgery PA profession, it's inevitable that it's successful.
Absolutely not. I've been to two of those conferences, and they are not just informational for the providers, but they also have a uniqueness, I think, that keeps people coming back and growing. The amount of lectures that you're able to kind of pack in a really quick week is amazing. But I also think your personal brand and style that you add to these conferences is also extremely unique, and maybe even one of a kind, I dare say, that kind of speaks a lot to your personal brand that you've been building on the side. So let's kind of walk our way that way. Give me the background of what made you start your health and wellness business.
So, if you guys don't know already, I am Michelle Dellene, and I'm on a mission to heal the healers by bridging the gap between Eastern and Western medicine. And this really started for me back in 2020. It's like the year of clarity, 2020 vision. I think for most of us, it changed our lives in so many ways. And for me, I was presented with a health crisis. Let's see, 2020, my daughter was just over 2, and I never felt the same since I was pregnant with her, as I'm sure many moms can attest to. But something was happening more than just postpartum. Now we're beyond 2 years out, right? I had ringing in my ears, felt tired all the time. I just had the flu and it just never got better. And I started to develop paresthesias in my hands. I had weakness in my left leg. Intermittently, when operating, I'd like just like drop instruments, and I developed brain fog, all sorts of things, heat sensitivity. And so one day after clinic, I was walking out to my car, and like my leg literally like went out on me without any warning. And I found myself on my hands and knees in the parking lot. And then I just started sobbing because I was like, okay, like something's happening and I can't ignore it. I can't put the excuse of like, I just had a baby on this anymore. So it took a lot for me to even accept that. And then, to my surprise, when I went to my primary care doctor, she totally blew it off. She goes, yeah, like you have a really stressful job. You're a brand new mom. You just need to sleep more. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I really prioritized sleep, but my symptoms kept getting worse. And I was like, wow, I had this gut feeling like something's not right. So I went to a different primary care doctor, and she ordered an MRI, and it showed lesions all over my brain. And at this point, like your PA brain is like, uh-oh.
Right, you're doing
Like,
your own differential diagnosis.
Yeah. And then it becomes all too real because there's like objective evidence before you. So then I went for Spinal Tap and it showed illegal clonal bands. And then honestly, that's when I just like felt hopeless. My doctor was like, please consider taking a step away from medicine. And I just had bought and designed and like put together this beautiful home. And I was a single mom at the time. And that was a lot of work for me. And she goes, you should really sell your house and move in with your parents. And I was like, do you know how hard I work to get out of my parents' house? I love them, but I'm an Aries. I need to be autonomous. No. So, yeah, that's when I found yoga and really dove into wellness. And in 8 months, I put MS into remission and I developed the curriculum that I now teach inside of my Detox to Heal program.
Wow. And all of this while still being a neurosurgery PA,
Well, I was working in that
general
time.
surgery.
And this was a big thing, Danny, that I discovered. I was out of alignment in so many ways. You could sense my passion for neurosurgery when I shared the story about presenting for the first time about neuroscience and coming to life. And the truth is, after I had my daughter, I went through a pretty traumatic divorce and I had to give up my neurosurgery position to take care of my daughter. And I settled for a general surgery position because I could be home with her during the night. I just didn't like it. I was doing what I needed to be the mom that I needed to for her, but it was like literally sucking the life out of me. And so I got real. I was like, okay, like, what does this look like? How can I re-enter neurosurgery and be a mom and be a leader in my community and heal my body? And then little by little, I took those courageous pivots into new job positions and I started to develop a better relationship with her dad. And he was in a place where he could care for her. And my whole life changed.
That's amazing. I think I personally, even having the little medical background that I do, make a horrible patient. How was it being on the other side of the table, if you will? Gurney? I don't know the.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, like I love taking care of people and I treat them like a VIP patient always. So I guess part of me kind of expected that. And I was so surprised I did not receive that. I was received with like denial of my symptoms the first time I presented. And then the second doctor that I saw, she was like, you know, this is only going to get worse, right? You're never going to get better. And I was like, what are you doing over here? You just like, can you imagine if I listened to that? Imagine all the people that are like on disability and in wheelchairs and just so like sad about their whole life because they listened to a provider that said that to them. Thank God I'm a rebel and I'm like, watch me do it my way. But yeah, and to be honest, I went to a neurologist and I was not treated appropriately at all. I won't even get into the details, but it was incredibly traumatic to be a patient every time that I went. And I am a firm believer that this was my purpose to experience deep pain so that I could shine the light on it and I could heal and that I could really connect with women out there that have been through something similar.
I think it definitely builds perspective as a clinician to be on the other side, and especially being diagnosed with something that kind of falls into your clinical practice. I assume you've dealt with patients that have had MS, being a neurosurgery PA, and how patients with sometimes hidden diseases are treated. Right on the outside, I'm assuming, looked normal, but on the inside, obviously your body was going through something pretty terrifying for it and you, especially knowing the inner workings of what oligoclonal bands are, right? I don't
Right.
know that every patient, when they hear that diagnosis, is like, oh, I can visualize all of that. And having,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, done spinal taps on patients or being around that, that's traumatic as a patient. And now you experience that. So I imagine, that has helped guide your clinical practice both in your normal PA neurosurgery job and your wellness company.
I'm able to really sit with someone and see them clearly when it comes to treating a patient with any type of autoimmune or rheumatological condition in a way that, school can never teach you. It's that personal experience and being able to overcome that really by like reframing your belief system. And of course, exercise, nutrition, meditation, rest, developing a positive, supportive community, all these things. But now what's incredibly rewarding practicing as a neurosurgery PA is that I can treat the whole patient, not just the hole in the patient.
That's great. I've never heard that one used before. I like that a lot.
Oh, you're going to have to use it now.
I'm going to. So you had mentioned earlier that you said you healed yourself. So talk a little bit about that journey. Did you, yeah, I'll leave it to you. You're a
Yeah.
great storyteller. So how did you come to that realization? Modern medicine is not going to do it for me. Did you always believe in non-traditional medicine type activities? Yeah, dive into that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share this with you. So, I came from like a really poor family and I invested a lot of time, a lot of money in understanding allopathic medicine, not only to create a future for myself and my family, but I'm genuinely interested in like how can we heal our patients? And so when I was hit with this news of like, oh, you have MS and you need to consider like going on disability and quitting your career as a PA and selling your home and moving with your family. I was like, well, that sounds like the worst case scenario. So I'm going to say no to that. And then after feeling all the feelings, it was so scary and depressing to come to reality with what was going on for me. I was like, how do people spontaneously heal? So I started to watch documentary after documentary. I read through case studies. I then started to discover the power of yoga. I did my yoga teacher training through Zen Yoga Garage in Chicago. And I was laying there in a class, and at the end, they were playing one of those like crystal bowls, and my whole body started like vibrating. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And so I became really curious. And I'm open. I'll just try anything. I'll be the guinea pig, typical Aries thing. And I started to practice transcendental meditation. And Danny, this was one of those pivotal moments for me. Imagine your phone's like on 1%, how it's like slow and glitching. It's not really functioning appropriately. That was me. Yeah. And then the first time I practiced TM, I felt like someone like fully charged me. I was like back to life and I could speak and move and feel in a way where most days I couldn't. And I was like, whoa, what did I discover here? Like, this is good. And so I'd wake up every day really early around 3:30-ish just to meditate. And then I'd get my baby ready. I drop her off at daycare, and then I'd go to yoga, and then I'd start my day as a PA. And then before I pick her up from daycare, I would meditate in the car. And so, like, we always have this opportunity to squeeze in whatever we like. And this excuse of like, we don't have time, that's bullshit. Like, all we ever have is time, right? So, yeah, it's just how bad do you want to heal?
What differentiated that type of yoga with other types of yoga? I'm not like, I don't know a ton about yoga. So what about that type made you pick that type? Do you practice other types? Are there other types?
Oh my gosh. This is my thing. I could talk to you forever, but I'll keep it concise for you.
Yes,
So
thank you.
you're welcome. So I started with yin yoga, which is a low to the ground, deep stretching, cool practice that focuses on releasing issues from the tissues by targeting the deep connective tissue known as fascia. And this is more powerful than any therapy session because as you're holding these poses, you're allowing energy to move through these energy highways known as meridians. So emotions, all of the pain and suffering that I'd suppressed in my failed marriage would come up, and I would like try quietly to like cry in the back of class. And that's where it really where my healing began. And as I developed my practice, I started to practice vinyasa, which translates to smooth. And this is the perfect kind of yoga for spinal health, and how great that is as a neurosurgery PA. I get to teach my patients about it. And like I have multiple herniated discs throughout my spine. So occasionally I develop a bit of radiculopathy, which I can alleviate through certain yoga sequences, which is kind of fun. And then as you practice, you get stronger and more resilient and inevitably want to challenge yourself. So now I do hot power yoga. And I even discovered a bit of aerial silk, which is great for spinal decompression. And now I like travel internationally and do stunts. So it's kind of fun how your yoga practice evolves.
Holy smokes. That I love how that kind of expanded. So you like dipped your toe in a little bit, and then as your health journey progressed, you got deeper and deeper, all while working.
That means like every day, no matter what, you show up. It doesn't matter how early or how late, you're there.
Wow, that's impressive. And at what point did you make the transition in your healing journey to say, wow, I'm at a spot now where I know other providers are probably going through something similar? It may not be a medical diagnosis, but certainly stress and burnout. Marriage and healthcare is generally challenging with the hours everybody works. What made you make that leap to say, okay, I've done this for myself. Now I want to bring it to the masses?
So it was about 8 months in of me experimenting with all these things, meditation and yoga, like coffee enemas, and developing the anti-inflammatory protocol, studying Ayurveda and the chakra system, and yin yoga and traditional Chinese medicine. And I would just anything that I could sink my teeth into when it comes to like alternative medicine. I wanted to know, like, how could this help me? And then after 8 months, not only did I put MS into remission, but I had this like sense of clarity and purpose that I had never felt so strongly, like beyond me. I felt like if I could do this for myself, I know that our community could benefit from it. So I started to like share it with all my patients. And one of my patients had transaminitis or elevated liver function tests for 10 years. She went to her GI doc, her primary care, all these people, and, tried all sorts of things, and it never came down. And I was like, well, have you ever tried a coffee enema? And she goes, what's that? I was like, well, it increases biliary dilation. Fancy words for like your liver is like this filter. And if it's all clogged up and all the ducts are clogged, of course, your liver enzymes are going to be elevated, right? Because nothing's flowing through. So you just need to like clean it out. And she goes, yeah, that makes sense. So she came back to me in 2 weeks after I gave her the instructions, and we got a liver function test and they were all normal. And she goes, my doctor doesn't believe it. I'm like, well, here's the evidence. How do you feel? I feel so great. And I was like, yes, that was like my first
That's awesome.
influence. But then after that, I started to share with the surgeons I was working with, the different providers, and I was met with a lot of, I don't even know the right word. They were like, oh, yoga, meditation, chakras. They like roll their eyes. And I was like, this just changed my life. How can you be so insensitive? And I'm like, oh, yeah, we work in surgery. I was like, don't
Uh,
take it personally.
no, not at all. You find that a lot. Even talking about in PA school, how much exercise and nutrition didactic work did you get as a PA? Do physicians get? Not much. Or if did you get any?
Very little, 6 hours. That I got my worst grade in PA school, which is, I think, incredibly ironic
Yeah.
because, like, I hate to document the things that I eat. I'm very intuitive and listening to my body. I hate measuring and recording. So like because I didn't put everything in my Fitness Pal, I got points deducted on that class, which I'm still working on releasing some papers that
Yes,
I've
that's obviously been pent up for quite a while. I'm glad we got to talk about your one bad grade in PA school. That's good. Hopefully I can help you get over that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so then I started to just take my business online and become visible on like Instagram. I started to teach yoga classes and started to incorporate wellness into our annual surgery conference. And I found that that's where I met the people that I could really help. So it was just kind of learning where to direct my energy.
That's so amazing. That kind of change in pathway has allowed you to expand your horizons even more and then connect it to what your other passion was. And I think when you're building a side hustle or a separate business, if your passions can combine, that makes it really sticky and really you could stick to it. And the fact that you're able to deliver that to your colleagues, I think is super amazing. I've seen what that looks like at a conference and it's absolutely awesome. Even conferences can be quite stressful, I think, with running around, listening to lectures, you're seated all day, and to give your body a break and move and stretch, I think it makes everything more pleasant, especially, you're on your feet a ton, you're hunched over a ton. It's a lot of stress in your body. So having an outlet outside of work, especially one that's so therapeutic, I think is awesome.
It's inevitable for our health.
Absolutely. So what does the business look like now?
Oh, I'm so excited, Danny. We're going to Costa Rica. I've been dreaming of hosting international wellness retreats for, gosh, now it's been 6 years and it's finally happening. Today's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 more days. So the
Amazing.
business looks like really integrating everything that I've learned and all of the healers that I've ever worked with into the delivery of wellness events for surgery PAs or like-minded healthcare professionals internationally. And so with my coaching business, I have courses that are available online for healthcare providers to purchase and go through on their own time. I offer one-on-one private sessions, both in person and virtually, and I teach meditation, yoga, kundalini, nutrition, all the things. And I'm most excited about creating this wellness retreat in Costa Rica because have you been there,
I
Danny?
have
It is a magical place.
I have not. But I've seen the advertisements for your thing and it almost made me want to go. For
Oh,
sure.
you can still come. I'll put you in my suitcase.
That seems fair. What does the one-on-one coaching look like?
Oh my God, okay, it's magic. I love this because when I coach, not only do I set the intention to achieve all their goals and to really expedite their healing, but I know that I'll always learn something too. And magic happens when we work together. And I don't just like say that in this flamboyant way, whatever. No, my dad calls me Michelle Possible because I
It's a great
can
name.
create. Yes, I can literally create whatever it is that I want in my life. And I think it's because I never ever give up. I am like all in on everything that I do. And so when someone comes to me with this goal to heal, we're getting together every week for at least an hour on Zoom. And I'm coaching them consistently to take these small incremental actions towards achieving their health goal, but it's so much more than that. I connect with them on a daily basis via Marco Polo, which is this cool video app where they're like, hey, I'm at the grocery store. I'm looking for coconut mana. I don't know what aisle is it. And I'm like, oh, right there. Or they're like, yeah, they're like, I sat down in meditation and someone started mowing their lawn. What do I do? And I was like, well, use it to enhance your meditation. Think about mowing away all those negative thoughts, right? Don't resist it, invite it in. And it's so cool because you get to know people and you get to witness their evolution and then you get to support them however it is that they want to continue to grow.
Wow. That is so powerful. Now, I guess Your schedule, obviously, you're a full-time PA and you're running this growing business, going on a retreat, having one-on-one clients. Obviously, you're putting a lot of time and effort into each client, whether it's in person or virtual. With your schedule, how do you balance that all and stay balanced?
You just got to do what you love, and you have to prioritize self-care. I take a hot bubble bath every single day, no matter what. Okay. And I get in my meditation, my kundalini, my yoga every single day, no matter what. And when I'm working with clients and I'm practicing medicine and I'm hanging out with my friends or my family or whatever, I let myself enjoy it and I let myself be lit up by it. The moment it doesn't feel good or I feel drained, then I excuse myself. And I think it's really important for us to listen to that guidance. The body is always talking to us. And this isn't something that just like overnight, I was like, oh, my gut says do this, let's do it. It took years of me putting my hands on my heart, my belly, like, body, what do you think? How do I feel? Because I think many of us in medicine ignore these sensations in our body because we have to be so focused on the surgery or the patient before us. So that evolution of really tuning in to how do I feel and then honoring that energetic shift and redirecting my action to always light me up helps.
I think that's common in a lot of healthcare providers, right? Ignore yourself, ignore even your own ailments because you have to serve the rest of the population, and to be kind of accepting of that and trusting your gut in medicine, I think is a big thing, but trusting your gut about yourself, I think is equally, if not more important, right? What's the saying on an airplane? If there's a loss of cabin pressure, you put the mask on you first before you help
Right.
anybody else, right? You can't be a good clinician if you're the one that's down for the count.
This is so true. Speaking my
I,
language, Danny.
I think you exemplify that in everything you do. So in all the little bits I've gotten to know you, I think that exudes from your personality, that giving nature. So I think everybody can sense it around you. And I think that's why your business has grown so fast and why membership in the society has grown so fast. I think building a business while operating, literally operating and operate your normal W-2 job is super challenging. What did you underestimate about starting a business and growing a business to where it is today?
Oh my God, I love this. Because I'm like in my head, this is the vision. I'm like, so all I have to do is develop my LLC and put it out there in the world, and then everyone will just flock to me. And what I didn't realize was that was not true. It was like crickets. And I was showing up, I was doing everything. I invested tens of thousands of dollars in business coaching and learning how to market and develop confidence on camera and create content and develop a call to action and set up all these systems like Calendly and Stripe and work with Squarespace and what have you. And so I was like, okay, I'm ready. And then I like open up my virtual doors and no one's there. And I'm like, what do I do now? And what that looked like was, girl, you got to get yourself out there. So I started to teach yoga in the community. I started to volunteer more. Every single person that I would ever meet, I would work on my elevator pitch. I would tell them who I am and what I do. And my first ever client was actually a PA that I went to school with. And it was so rewarding to work with her. And she paid me like big bucks right up front. So I sold my program for the first time for $3,333, which
It's a
as a
very specific number.
oh my God, numerology is a thing. We can get into that. I'm like, oh, the vibration there. It's so cool. Not only to make your first sale, but then to like see how your sales can just skyrocket. And at one point, I was making more in my coaching business than I was practicing medicine. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I really like this. And so I am balancing the two right now and really shifting from overworking in my business because now, like a lot of people want to work with me, and I have to be respectful of my health and my time. So I'm limiting live in-person events, now scaling to like these international retreats and offering my course passively so that people can still receive everything that they need while I don't get burnt out.
Right. You got to follow the path that got you there. You can't restart from scratch and burn yourself out in something that you're so passionate about and remove all those positive feelings you feel about what you're delivering. It's interesting that you bring up you're getting your first sale. Obviously, I spent a career, or at least the first half, in med device sales. And what I find in my new gig at All Stars is that providers often perceive a hurdle as in getting your first, in All Stars' case, surgeon to use you as a freelance first assist. And obviously you selling your first client. Where did you develop the skill set to sell? What does clinical selling look like from your perspective? Because that's a lot of the providers that start their own business. A lot of it is clinical style selling, not hardcore used car sales, for lack of a better analogy. So what does
Yeah.
clinical selling look like for you? How did you learn to do that? Again, something you don't learn in healthcare graduate school, whether MD, DO, NP, PA, it doesn't matter really. Nobody learns how to sell anything. Nobody learns that business sort of skill set. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So it literally started by like using a script and just understanding like how to talk to somebody. And what it really has evolved into is developing genuine connection. And when you're able to truly like see someone as they are and meet them where they are with the service that you provide, I think that's when sales become easy because it doesn't feel like you're pushing anything, but you are like actively listening to their problem and providing a solution.
Yeah, I think that's so true. It's that not kind of word jumbling and spitting everything at them. It's listening and tailoring your approach to what that physician, provider, or patient is looking for, and genuinely listening. I think when it comes to sales, all the answers are in the explanation. And if you pay
Yes.
attention, look at the cues, figure out where the pain points are, for lack of a better word, I think it makes it really easy almost to figure out what you need to deliver to move the needle in that direction. Either whether it's getting a sale, getting a client, getting a surgeon to agree to use you in the operating room or buy a product. I've met ironically, tons of PAs that have either developed products or side hustles or side businesses, and everyone states that that is the biggest hurdle to overcome, right? The first one. And you've achieved
Yeah.
that multiple times over. So that's amazing.
Thanks. I think too, just being authentically you. For me, I'll show up to a yoga class and I'll hit a chin stand and I'll stand up from wheel. I'll do some crazy shit. And people come up to me, they're like, "Hey, how do you do that?" I was like, "Well, this is what I do. I'll teach you. Give me your phone. I'm gonna put my number in. Just text me." And it's like, boom, client, right?
And I think also it's your organic personality that now, not that you're constantly thinking about your wellness business, but because it's such a passion for you, it bleeds out everywhere, right? It's in your nature to want to help, and you've been able to now create and monetize that for other people. So, you're getting to make an impact over and over again. If this episode hit, send it to one person, one clinician sitting on an idea that hasn't acted yet. Subscribe so you don't miss this. Michelle, again, thank you so very much. This was absolutely awesome. You're a rock star, and I can't wait to see where all of this goes.